to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Baker.
And I'm Sergeant Tim Andrews.
And today we have a special guest with us, and we're going to talk about hurricane season. So if you could just introduce yourself, who you're with, and all that fun stuff.
Hi there. Thank you for inviting me. I'm Kim McLeod. I'm the Public Information Coordinator with the South Carolina Emergency Management Division.
Okay. So me specifically, and Andrews a little bit, we know Derek. So we were hoping that we got to see him again, but we had him on a podcast. I think he was actually on our very first podcast around hurricane season last year. So it's nice to have somebody come back to talk about it, because with everything going on right now, we haven't really talked about hurricane season, and we're right in the middle of it pretty much. So with everything going on, could you talk about a little bit on how to prepare for the hurricane season, even though, like I said, we are in the middle of it, but how things look different now than maybe last year, the year before, with everything that's been going on this past year?
Well, the timing of this podcast is really great because September is the peak of hurricane season, especially September 10th. So that statistically, you're more statistically likely to see a named storm on September 10th. And right now we have two out there.
Yeah.
So we have Paulette and we have Renee. And things, do look a lot different due to COVID this year. So we have written the COVID contingency plan. So sheltering is going to look a lot different, mass transit, if we have to do those coastal evacuations.
It's crazy because honestly, with how work's been going in life, I haven't been paying much attention to the news and the weather. I didn't realize how far into the names we were this season already. And for us, knock on wood, to still not have any effects from it, it's really a blessing, honestly.
Yeah, but we're not through September and October yet. Those are the difficult months.
Yeah. But as far as with COVID happening and everything, what can people expect different with evacuations or shelters and stuff like that?
Well, there'll have to be less people at the shelters. We'll have to take family units and make sure that they're distanced from other family units and individuals. So less shelter capacity. So we'll probably have to open up more shelters. But still, we want people, if they need to go to a shelter, you go to a shelter, because the threat of COVID is much less than the threat of a hurricane to your personal safety. So it's very important that you still have that evacuation plan. And of course, you're always going to be more comfortable staying in a hotel or with friends or family. But if you have to go to a shelter, please do so.
And what role do you all have within the state, for someone that's listening?
What do you mean? As far as
like, what do y'all do?
I guess your role at the SCEMD, as far as during hurricane season, what kind of roles do you take on?
Well, we do a lot of public information and outreach, and try to educate people about what type of risk you face here being a South Carolinian. I tell everybody that the only thing that you don't need to be prepared for in South Carolina is a volcano.
That's true. But as far as being prepared, because like you said, this is the more active time of the season, and maybe people put the being prepared on the back burner and getting things ready. What are things that they should be doing now to prepare for that, and say, hey, you should still be thinking about these things, even though all this other chaos is still going on in the mix?
Well, you always need to have that emergency plan. Emergency planning isn't hard. It's as simple as sitting down and having a conversation with your family over dinner about what you would do if there was a fire in your home, or what would you do if there was a tornado or a hurricane. You just need to have those plans and talk through that with your family. And that way everyone in the family knows what to do in case an event occurs. Also, a big thing is get your emergency kit ready. You're always going to need one. Have that 3-day supply of non-perishable food, water. With COVID, you want some face mask, disinfectant wipes, and hand sanitizer. And think about the things that you're going to need when an emergency happens. If you have canned foods, you're going to need a can opener. Just things like that. We have a lot of information on our app and our website, scemd.org, to help people get prepared. Also, if you download our free app, SC Emergency Manager, it has actually a checklist that you can go through and check off the items that you already have in your emergency kit. That way you know what else you may need.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought that up because I think last year is when you guys, or I could be wrong, were like pushing the app out and making that more available and adding more resources. Are there any new things that have been added to that people can check out, or is it just all laid out with all the different resources that they can access for like the checklist and things to prepare for and stuff like that?
Well, the biggest things are the checklist, and also you have the ability to put in your insurance information, your emergency contacts, and also, actually lay out your plan in the app. And once you do that, you can actually send that plan to your emergency contacts. It has that ability to send it. The latest version of our app actually has an earthquake map. So if an earthquake happens in South Carolina or around South Carolina, you can get notifications from USGS.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that as well, because a lot of people don't think of South Carolina as it's always geared towards hurricanes, but we have earthquakes, we have tornadoes. I mean, we've had them happen in the last couple months. Mm-hmm. So those are definitely some things that people need to consider as well, because it's still an issue in our state, and you shouldn't be focused on one natural disaster. Like, we could have anything really other than volcanoes, like you were saying.
Yeah. South Carolina is right over a fault line as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, you definitely need to be prepared. And that app, I knew that you could put your information and stuff, but I didn't know like you could send it to different people and like have it in one central location, because I mean, I own a house, I have a car, and to think of all that paperwork that you need to have, and who do I call, what are my contacts and stuff like that, like you don't realize until it's the last minute, and that's why it's always really good to prepare.
Yeah.
So,
and always try to put that important paperwork in a digital format. That way you can carry it with you and keep everything in an airtight container. Mm-hmm. That way, if something happens while you're evacuating, or if you accidentally leave it behind, then it's not going to get damaged, because you're going to need that important paperwork.
Yeah. Andrews, is there anything?
No, I think you answered it.
Is there anything?
But going back to earthquakes, the largest earthquake on the East Coast happened in Charleston, South Carolina in 1886. It was a 7.3 magnitude earthquake. Something like that happening today would be catastrophic. It would cause we would lose thousands of people, unfortunately, and it would cost billions in damage. So we always need to keep that in the back of our mind and be prepared and know that that is a risk that we face here in South Carolina.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to be prepared. Like, I know people say there's not enough time in the day and all this, but when it comes to your safety and your family and knowing what to do in those kind of situations, it can put your mind at ease as well as your family. Because, I mean, I'm not originally from South Carolina. I'm from Pennsylvania, so I don't have a lot of family down here. So what they deal with up there is different than what we deal with down here. And so like everybody knowing what's going on helps, because if something were to happen, then they need to know if you have emergency contacts and all your information and all that kind of stuff. So it's always good to prepare before. And I wish we could have done this podcast sooner, but with COVID and everything, we really didn't have the time to bring it up or mention it whenever the season was starting. But it's good to start now, because we haven't really had any issues, knock on wood again, that we still have time to prepare a little bit. And also your website has, isn't there a place where you can go like whenever there's evacuations and shelters and stuff to know where to go and what you can and can't do? Is that located on your website as well?
Absolutely. When an event occurs, we put our website in what we call emergency mode. So all of that important information is right there, smack dab on the homepage. So if you need to find a shelter location, you just click on that link and it takes you directly there. All the information that you need is just right there in one easy location, and you know where to go to get everything that you need, because it's just right there on the homepage. You don't actually have to go into the site.
Okay. That makes it a lot easier. Now, as far as we talked about the checklist and stuff like that and having some items, is there anything else that you would recommend people to think about that maybe they wouldn't think about on a daily basis just to have if something like this were to happen?
Well, I mean, really the best advice is for people just to start thinking about it, because if you already have that plan in place, when something happens, you're not going to go into panic mode.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go and say, okay, I have my emergency supply kit. I have this, that, and the other, and I know where I'm going to go. So I just need to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of wasting time, precious time that you don't really have in an emergency, panicking, then you already know what you're going to do. So the best advice that I can ever give anybody is to just have that plan in place and know what you need to do. Just start thinking about it.
Okay.
That's anything. They teach us about contingency plans and everything here.
Yes. Always have a plan. I had another question, but now it slipped my mind. Is there anything else, Andrews, that you can think of? Is there anything else that you would like to add or about the season or things to expect? I had another really good question and now I can't remember. That's why I wrote everything down.
Well, it's 2020, so expect the unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
That should be the motto for the year.
Yeah. But we have a lot of great information. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SCEMD. Visit our website, download our app. We almost have 200,000 downloads of the South Carolina Emergency Manager app, and we've gotten rave reviews. People really like it. So if you don't already have it, I highly recommend you download it. I love it. I use it for my own emergency plan.
Mm-hmm.
You can't imagine emergency managers not having emergency plans, right?
Yeah.
And we have the 2020 Hurricane Guide.
Mm-hmm.
You can download it on our website. It's also available at all Walgreens locations, some Piggly Wigglies, DMVs have it, and South Carolina Welcome Centers.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, I really appreciate you stopping by and talking to us. I'm sure that we'll have you or somebody from the EMD come in and talk about other topics as well. But it was good to have you come in and kind of update us, especially with everything with COVID and things to expect with that, to give a little bit of peace of mind to people that they're still able to do things the way that we're used to, but just in modifications and stuff like that. But Andrews, you want to close us out?
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Give us we're at what? 515
something like that.
Yeah, something
500
like that.
And some subscribers. We're trying to get to 600 now.
Yeah, we're moving on up there. So please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.